Welcome to the Tipsy Guest Podcast. I am your host, Marco Buenrostro, and every week I'm here with the top industry experts, amazing clients, and all my vendor BFFs to bring you the best tips, advice, and juicy behind-the-scenes stories to make wedding and event planning a breeze. So grab your favorite drink and let's get this party started! Hey guys, welcome back to the Tipsy Guest, Marco, your host, and today we're going to be talking about event design and decor. And for that, I have an expert here, Nicolette with Chic Concepts is with me today. Hi, Nicolette.
Hi, how are y'all? Hi, everybody.
I am great. Thank you for coming in today.
You. Thanks for having me.
I've been wanting to get you in here for the longest time, but of course, we had busy season and everybody was going crazy.
I know. I'm so glad we're here finally.
For some reason, and the time of recording of this is January 2025. So we just went through the holiday season of 2024 and oh my gosh, it was crazy.
It was like Christmas came. I was like, oh, it's Christmas. And
then it just went.
Then it went.
Yes. But, okay, so event design and decor, I mean, the things that you create are incredible.
Oh, thank you.
And for those of you, to our listeners that are not familiar with Nicolette's work, make sure you follow her on social media. What is your Instagram?
Chic Concepts TX.
Okay, and they can find you, I'm assuming, on your website, on Facebook?
Yeah, yes.
All right, perfect, yes. I mean, I've had the pleasure to work with you so many times throughout the years. I mean, 8-9 years now.
Absolutely.
That we've done events together. And every time that I work with you...
Thank you.
I mean, everything is stunning.
Thank you. And you worked with Gina, too, because you did your house,
Yes. So Gina, just fun story here. Gina is Nicolette's mom, and she is an interior designer. And oh my God, her work is incredible. I used to live at an apartment downtown, right by the Riverwalk. And Gina, she took care of my decor. And oh my God, every time I walked into that apartment, I felt like I was at a furniture store.
It was rad.
It was like a showroom.
It was. That art pieces and it was cool.
Incredible. And I moved from that apartment, but of course I brought everything with me. And now in my new house, I incorporated everything
I saw it
here.
when I walked in. I was like, oh, there's a little chess piece. Nice.
Yeah. So thank you, Gina. Shout out.
I still love that. Yeah.
But anyways, so let's dive right into event design and decor. I mean, tell us how understanding why it matters and how each couple can put personality into their wedding space.
Yeah.
How is the entire process from the moment that a couple reaches out to you? How do you bring everything to life?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the first thing I always ask is, how important is design and decor to you? On a scale of 1 to 10. And I tell them if it's the first thing that's important, let me know. If it's really not that important, because I need to know, we don't want to go all lavish with them if it's like not important to them. They're just like, I have to do it because I have to do it. But then we get the clients that it's very important to them. And those clients, we ask, okay, what do you like to do for fun? Tell me a little bit about your hobbies. And I think one mistake that a lot of times couples make is I love trends. I love what's, happening and what's cool because style is important. But design, good design, the things that matter are color, composition, scale, texture, all of those things. And that will go through the end of time. That doesn't change because that's art. And that's like, the principles of art, right? One mistake I think that clients make is they see everything on Pinterest and it's like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to do this. I got to do this. And they think they have to do what everybody else is doing. And I'm like, no, what do you like? What's important to you? If hunting is a big deal to you and it's how your life is, we could do some like, really funky, cool, like antlers, and we can put them into floral pieces and arches. We can make it modern. It doesn't have to be old school, obviously. If you're into reading, I'm just saying, and you're a librarian, let's pull in, I've done like we pulled in books and then we have wrapped them in different, like they kind of were like the colors were pink and they wanted floral. And we wrapped all the books in this like floral paper and we incorporated it into the centerpieces.
Wow.
Things like that I think are, a lot of times overlooked because we kind of see it as flowers, linen, lighting, and it's like 1, 2, 3. But there are so many other like intricacies that you can bring in that reflect who you are and kind of like that inner child. I always like to think about that. Like, what is it when you were dreamed of when you were little that you really liked? Was it being a princess? Well, let's, if we're going to do a forest, let's make it happen. Let's bring in the butterflies. Let's bring in the fruit elements. Let's bring in the moss. Let's bring in the hanging amaranthus. And I think that's what makes, bringing in that personality, different into the design and making it really cool. And for them, it's reflective of who they are.
I love that. I love that because sometimes they think that it might be silly and, because they don't have the design mentality.
Yeah. And I've had clients that they were like, we want sexy and cool. And they were this two couple. They were sexy and they were cool. And they were really smart and they were fun. And they were like, but we want flowers. We're not really big flower people, but we want some. And all we did we did some floral, but we did candles and I did these big, Brentmore stands, and all we did was candle. And when I say that thing was sexy and cool for it was black and white and just candlescapes. It was sexy. It was cool. It was minimal, which is what they wanted, but it made an impact. And I think that's what, you have to think about when you are talking with your designer. What is it about you that makes you y'all? And let's reflect y'all. It's not about, what's in. It's about, this is y'all's wedding. What's important to you?
I love that, because a lot of the time couples, they want to have the most amazing wedding, but they want to do it because they want to impress other people.
Yeah.
But I feel like, no, you should impress yourself. This is your big day.
Exactly. And guests will appreciate because they'll see that and they'll see the love that's in it, and then they do appreciate it.
Exactly. I like for example, earlier when you mentioned about the antlers with the florals and things like that. The moment guests walk into the wedding, into the space, they're automatically going to relate that to either the bride or the groom, whoever is into that.
Right.
They're gonna be like, oh my God, that is so cute. It's so relatable. It's so him. It's so her.
Exactly.
I really like that, and I think modern couples that's exactly what they're doing. I feel like all the traditional stuff, it's still there, but I feel like now it's everything has to be modern. Everything has to be very chic. Everything has to everybody wants to show off on social media, and I just feel like the decor is a very important piece when it comes to your big day.
Right.
It can either make it or break it. Everything is important. Of course, the DJ, you have to have good music.
Yes.
The food, everybody's going to remember the food. The photographer, those are things that you're going to cherish forever.
The decor sets the ambiance.
Exactly.
Sets the mood.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And right now that you mentioned the candles, I think that is one of my favorite decor pieces. I'm all about lighting.
Yes.
And I think candles can just transform any space into something
absolutely
incredible.
And one thing that my Gina taught me, she always says, when you go to a furniture store, why is it that the furniture always looks better in the furniture store sometimes than when it goes to your house? What is it that's different? She's
lighting.
It's the track lighting.
Yeah.
And lighting's a 7th layer design. Probably makes sense, and I also married a man who was in lighting. So, it's kind of funny how that goes. But yeah, the pin spots, the candlelight, all of that reflects the art. And when the lights go off, you can't see it. And so, you want to make sure that that's why I also love working at the McNay too, because you really get to, it's all dark and then you bring in that light.
Every time I work at the McNay, it is so different. I feel like every time I work a wedding there, I'm walking into a complete different space.
Yes.
I don't think there's been 2 weddings that look the same to me.
No.
And I've worked there so many times with different designers, with different planners.
Yes.
And I just feel like every vibe, it's so different.
And John was so good at what he did. God bless him. We miss him.
Yes,
what he did, he was such an artist in that way. And lighting is so important, and it's such an integral part of the overall decor. It's not just, that's the thing I also think about really makes good design. It's never just the one element. It's not just the floral. It's not just the linen. It's all of it encompassing together to make that art piece, the texture, the glassware. That's what makes it oh my gosh. Mm-hmm.
When you work, because you've worked at so many different venues throughout the years, there's hotel venues, there's just standalone venues, there's museums, there's, the botanical gardens.
Right.
What is your favorite type of space to decorate for a wedding?
Well, that's a good question. I think my favorite type of space is one, don't want to say that it's a blank space, because I do like blank spaces because you can pretty much do anything. But I think ones that have architectural pieces that can be shown within the space. Like you mentioned botanical garden, you have all that beautiful window, you have all that beautiful light, you can work with that. We talked about the McNay. It's such a blank canvas. You work at chandelier. You've got that beautiful chandelier. You've got those hanging boxes that you can really make fun. So I think that whatever space is in, it's using the principles that are already there and the architecture that's there. And every piece is unique. And that's another question I always ask clients. Why did you choose this venue?
Yeah.
What is it about this venue that you like? And then they tell me, and I'm like, okay, let's play that up. Let's work with that. Yeah.
Has there ever been a time where the couple comes to you with a, with a mood board or an idea, and then the final decor turns out to be completely different from when you started?
Yeah, I think that happened. It happened a couple times, like during the pandemic, because we had to do like a lot of clients rescheduled, right? And so there were time lapses, and so they changed. Or sometimes a client will come to me and I'll ask a question, or they'll show me pictures. I'm like, okay, why are you showing me this picture? What is it about? That's another question I was asked. What is it about this picture that you like? Because sometimes they'll be like, it's just the color. I'm like, well, hell, forget it. I don't know. That's completely different what I'm looking at. Yeah, so sometimes that has happened, and I think it's because they don't even know yet what they're looking at, because it's going back to the original question of, we see things and we think, oh, this is pretty, but when you really start taking things out and asking questions like, why this and what about this, and they're like, well, really it's this. I'm like, okay, then that's not really your style. This is actually kind of what, and they're like, oh yeah, that is what I like, and it turns into and transforms into something completely different.
All right. And when it comes to budget, do you, I mean, every couple, they show you like the most amazing, like Kardashian wedding style, like, mood boards. But then, of course, everything comes down to budget. What percentage would you say of a couple's budget goes into decor and design?
That's a good question. I would say you need to, depending on how important it is to you, I would say easily anywhere between 30 to probably 45%. Okay. Pretty fair.
And then I guess when you're designing something, are you, we talked about, the flowers, we talked about lighting, candles and things like that. What about like lounge areas, furniture, what other components do you take place into design?
Yeah, I love creating vignettes with lounge furniture. We forget about like the cocktail area. We want to do a photo. When you have your photo booth, you want to make something, really sleek and give a nice seating section. I think also pieces that are really people starting to lean into, and we really talked about that when we first started doing design, when we would do like hanging floral pieces, is, statement pieces. Not everybody has that 30% to put in. It doesn't mean your wedding shouldn't be beautiful. Some people can only put, they have tight budgets. So where are we going to put the money? Well, let's put it into a statement piece that maybe will really knock everything out. And I think that's important too.
Yeah, I love that.
And helpful.
Right now that you mentioned, the photo booth. Right now, so something that's going to be really popular in 2025. It's still part of the photo booth family, but portrait stations are becoming so popular.
Yeah.
So it's still the same, type of fun as a photo booth, but instead of having a standalone machine, what we have is an actual photographer, taking pictures with a beautiful set. We've done a few events like that, and oh my God, it is so much fun.
I love that.
We incorporate florals, we incorporate furniture, we incorporate chandeliers, things like that you can't really capture with a photo booth because of, it has to be within a certain frame.
Yes.
So having a photographer not with our portrait stations, we bring the lighting, we bring the photographer, we bring, everything that is part of a photo booth, but with a...
Yeah, we did that. We've done that for corporate gigs, like for Christmas events, and really do it up. I remember one event we did with Curtis Cronk. This was a 25th wedding anniversary, and was 1920 theme. And I don't know the year, it was a while ago, but we did we did very much, it was all 20s, and we brought in carpets and chests and gold sequin, and he actually rented these from Austin. They were like lights, and they actually worked. They took out a lot of power, but they were the old school Hollywood.
Oh my gosh.
So we really created that piece, that ambiance. So when people they really felt like they were in the 1920s. It took them, and we had a red carpet, and it took them to that place.
I love theme events,
yes.
especially the Roaring Twenties. Like, it's one of the most popular themes out there for
fun.
events.
But you can do it with anything. We can make it modern. It doesn't have to be thematic. But yes, it's so much fun. I love that.
I absolutely love it. And as a planner, what are the biggest decor related challenges that you faced throughout the years as a designer?
Decor related challenge. That's a good question. I think logistics is a not necessarily a challenge, but it is a challenge in that when you're thinking about when you're having to work with everything, it's not just what makes it pretty. You have to also think about logistics, because if you're at a hotel, for instance, love my hotels, but the reality is that they have a sales to meet, right? And so sometimes they can sell the hotel in the day. I've done that where I've had corporate gigs or I've had weddings where they sold it in the morning, and we had a 300-person event and we only had like an hour to 2 hours to flip.
Wow.
And so you have to think about, okay, how many manpower am I going to need? How many people? Because you got to go up the elevator, you got to go down the hall, you got to go to the back room. And so that's also a challenge when you're thinking about what you're creating. What are the elements that we need to make this logistically work in the time frame that we have? And so that is, I think logistics is a huge thing to think about, because it can really affect your budget in that the manpower that's needed.
And I think that is a great point, because, and not that couples need to pick their venue based on how easy it is to get in and out of the venue for vendors. But I mean, we do have to go through so much to get sometimes to an event space, especially downtown, because sometimes those loading docks are so tight.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's no elevators. Like, it is crazy.
Make it. And then even if there are places that aren't downtown that have really strict contract guidelines that are like, oh, you have the venue for this long, we only have it for 2 hours. Okay, we can do that, but it's going to go up on your labor because I need more people.
Exactly.
Or we're going to have to go with the simple design if you don't want to pay for the labor, because we can't. I need people and time to do these big pieces. And that's with anybody, anywhere, any company. So those are things that I think, if you don't have a planner with you the whole time holding your hand, you're not going to think about, as a guest or as a bride or groom.
I like that, that sometimes, the couples that are hiring the vendors, they take that into consideration. And again, I guess this is the tipsy tip of the day. As a couple, always check with your, with the venue and be like, hey, how easy is it for my vendors to get in and out? What is the timeline going to look like? Because that is something that, you have to plan with your vendors way in advance, because sometimes you have to schedule different time frames of the day for the vendors to arrive and be able to go in, because if everybody shows up at the same time and there's only one elevator or one loading dock,
forget it.
It is craziness. So yes, I guess always check in with the venue. That way your vendors know exactly what to expect, when the day comes, and then they have to figure out how to get in there. And a lot of the venues don't allow, like if it's a hotel, they don't allow you to go through the main entrance. You have to go through the loading dock, and it doesn't matter if it's a lot of stuff that you're bringing or if it's just a few bags. You have to go through the loading dock. So yeah, it's always good to know what you're getting yourself into.
Absolutely. Yeah. Know what again, you don't know what you don't know. And so, that's why it's important to listen to things like this, to learn a little bit.
Yeah.
Or hire a really good planner.
That too.
Who knows what they're doing. That's really the key.
Yeah, because it's really important. I mean, I've been in the business, for 10 years now. How long have you been in the business?
2011, was that 14 years?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So,
I've been around the block or two.
Yeah, experience, because a lot of people, there's a lot of vendors out there. There's a lot of new vendors out there. And this is, of course, nothing against new vendors.
Because we all start somewhere.
Exactly. But experience, comes to plays in a situation like this, because us that are veterans in the business, we've worked at probably every venue in town. So we know how the loading situation is. We know the time frames. Like, for example, with me at the McNay, I already know what time I need to arrive, because I know that the spot where the photo booth normally goes, is open to the public because it's a
Exactly.
museum. So I have to wait until the museum closes
Exactly.
for me to be able to access that space.
Right.
With Hotel Emma, it doesn't matter. I can go set up as early as like 10 a.m.
Right.
Chandelier, I can go at like 10 a.m.
I
The
know.
Preserve,
God
I
bless
can
it.
go at like noon.
Yes.
But there's every vendor, every venue, I should say, is different with the access for different vendors. Not
Exactly.
everybody has access
No.
at the same time.
Right.
So yeah, this is when a good planner that has been in the business for a long time and
Yes.
that knows every venue in town, this is where you guys come into place.
Exactly.
Because you know what you're doing.
Exactly.
You know your people.
They know their people, and they know they know everybody, and so it helps. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's another tip. Hire an experienced planner. And of course, here at the Tipsy Guest, we support also the new planners. But again, it's always good to, I guess, depending on your venue, depending on your budget.
Right.
But yes. All right, so what advice would you give our couples on how to prioritize design elements while staying within their budget? Like, you don't want to go over the top if you know your budget, of course,
Right.
is like not the best. Like, how can they prioritize?
I think if you have a really, really tight budget, really focus on color. If you're not afraid of color, which I never have been, really think about what linens you can use to make it pop, to make a statement, to make the room feel warm. If you're going to go with all beiges and you don't have a big budget to really do big floral, things might kind of blend in. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think that's important, color. Secondly, prioritize what's important to you. When you're planning something, is the ceremony the most important thing to you? And that's where you want to put your money. Is it you want to put a big statement piece? Are we going to do, maybe 4-6 big arrangements and everything else is simple and that's okay. Think about the flow of the room and where your eye is going to go. If we do all tall, it's not going to work because your eye's flat. But if you kind of create, this is a statement piece, this statement piece, this statement piece, it gives a place for their eyes to go, the guest, which elevates the guest experience, and it makes a statement throughout the room.
There you have it. Oh my gosh. All right, Nicolette. Well, it is time. This
Cool.
went by quick.
It did, and it was nice. Good conversation. Thank you for having
quick.
us.
So we learned a lot. For our listeners out there, make sure that you come back next week. We, as usual, have a different vendor every week. And Nicolette, this is your open invitation.
Thank you.
I would love to have you again.
It was
there's
fun.
so much to learn from you.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And make sure to our listeners that you tell your engaged BFFs about the podcast. Again, every week we have different vendors. And if you have a favorite vendor that hasn't been in the podcast, make sure that you send us a DM, send us your recommendations, and we will reach out to them and hopefully we'll have them here next. Thank you, girl.
Thanks.
Cheers, everyone. Thanks for listening to the Tipsy Guest Podcast. If you know someone who could benefit from these tips, spread the love and share it with them. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Next round's on us. Same time, same place. Cheers! This podcast is brought to you by MVP Photo Booth, the #1 photo booth rental company in San Antonio, Austin, and Central Texas.